I'd like to welcome everybody here in chambers and watching from home to the regular meeting of the Bangor School Committee, Wednesday, June 10, 2026. If you are able to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item tonight is a recognition. We're very excited to hear about the NASA Tech Rise team. Superintendent Robinson.
Thank you. The Bangor School Department and the Bangor School Committee would like to recognize William S. Cohen students and science teacher Margaret Pietrek for competing in the NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. I'd like to call Principal Miss Brenner up to say a few words. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Chair Charette, members of the committee, Dr. Robinson. It's with great pleasure that I stand before you tonight to recognize 7 very talented students from the William S. Cohen School for their work, creativity, collaboration to design and submit a proposal to the NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. The project that they submitted in November, called Yeast to the Stars, was one of 25 winners, if you will, a project selected from middle schools and high schools from across the nation, which is very, very impressive. We are proud of our students for their tremendous accomplishment, and equally as proud and appreciative of Mrs. Pietrek for guiding the students in their weekly Future Engineers meetings and work sessions after school. So congratulations to Jack, Aiden, Abby, Abram, Case, Felipe, and Sharath for their awesome work this year. I also want to mention we're very fortunate at William S. Cohen to have wonderful parental support of our school and our programs. I think that's representative here today. So parents, thank you for your support of our after-school programs in our school. To provide more detail and context about this tremendous project and award, it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Mrs. Margaret Pietrek, grade 7 science teacher at the William S. Cohen School. Ms. Pietrek.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to recognize these students. They are amazing. I just wanted to start with a little background information from about the NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. It is, and this is from their website, the Future Engineers website, a total of 60 winning teams, 35 suborbital spaceship and 25 high altitude balloon projects are selected each year. Well, I shouldn't say that each year. This year, they kind of changes each year to participate in this year's NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. Each winning team will receive a prize package of $1,500 for supplies, a starter kit, including a flight box in which to build their experiment, and an assigned spot for a winning experiment on a NASA-sponsored either suborbital spaceship or high-altitude balloon flight. The winning teams will also have access to technical support and weekly meetings with the Future Engineers experts during their experiment build. So on December 10th, I got a call from Future Engineers and I was in shock. And I was like, oh my gosh, hoping that this was a call to alert me that the team was chosen as winners. And they were. So this was the second team from William S. Cohen. The first one was 3 years ago. I think they're sophomores now. And then 2 years ago, the high school also had a proposal that won. And all of them, I believe, were high altitude balloons. In October, the students came together answering a call for proposals. I just put it out there as this is the NASA Tech Rise. If you're interested, come see us. And there was no guarantee that their project is going to win and be selected to build, but each of them had the curiosity and determination to try. And what I think is quite amazing out of this group, there are 4 out of 7 that attempted either in 6th grade and or 7th grade and did not get selected. And so this year they did. those students were Abby, Aiden, Felipe, and Jack. They had entered proposals either once or twice. This year, they were joined by seventh graders, one seventh grader and two sixth graders. And after a month of working together, put together a proposal called Yeast to the Stars. It doesn't quite go to the stars. It's just almost there. Then the students attended the announcement presentation at the end of January. So this is a long, long project. And they saw William S. Cohen listed as one of the 25 winning schools for the high altitude balloon project. Their eyes got big, their mouths dropped, and you could just visibly see the excitement and just like, what just happened? Then the hard work began. The team met with TechRise engineers weekly. Okay, so one meeting with them, but then we also had a second meeting on our own. They met from January 26th to May 15th to work on this project twice a week, to learn to code, solder, wire sensors, make wiring diagrams, mounting diagrams with several iterations to finally reach their design. The project will track location, gases, temperature, UV radiation that the yeast is exposed to in order to see how the yeast is affected by the conditions. And the community connection part of this project was important. I think without it, we would not have gotten accepted. So there's a strict rubric that you have to follow to get points. Anyway, the community connection is that next year we'll include some of the yeast that goes up there in our seventh grade fermentation lab and compare it to the yeast that is here on Earth. And also the group plans to share their findings with other students, bake some bread with these space yeast, and near space yeast, and that will take place during this coming year since the project or their launch this summer. And I know we have some that are rising into freshmen, but maybe we can tap them back if they're around. Let's see. The project is planned to launch sometime either in July or August, depending on weather conditions. And we plan to organize a launch party to watch the project as we did before. They go up to 70 to 90,000 feet before returning down to the Earth. And they did everything on the project. I did not do anything except I ordered the materials, I facilitated, I delivered the project to FedEx, and then it got sent to California for its final check. They're truly amazing students. I mean, that you started in October. You heard about it in January. You worked all the way through May. That is really tough. Anyway, the group presented their project at a virtual national conference with other winning schools, and that included high schools, included middle schools. There was one school from Guam. It was really cool. And they made a 3-minute video. So their video is going to tell the rest of the story in their voice. They are speaking.
I know. Should be a touch. You put in some feedback.
Right. I appreciate the suggestion. I do feel like you guys want to know more to do that.
The video is not able to come through, but for those at home, I will actually splice it into the recording, so you will be able to watch it once it's on.
All right. Okay.
I get it. Get it.
Right. Right.
You sure can.
Great. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You do it? Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it's super awkward. I really appreciate you doing that. It's very intimidating, so. Yeah, especially if you're like, oh, good, I already did it. I don't need to do it again. So,
So when they presented, in the virtual conference, they had to present live.
oh,
This is up on the website, so that we can see what the projects,
oh, that's very cool.
it's like the back.
Yeah.
They did put that. Okay, so East of the Stars is the name.
Okay.
The stars.
Except Ernest and Jack. Experiment and pick. Our experiment aims to test how the stratosphere affects yeast during flight. We hypothesized that the yeast could die in movement. After the experiment is done, we compare and contrast the experiment to the stars, with yeast staying on Earth. We plan to make bread with the exposed yeast and do control system Earth, comparing how each will rises.
As I can look at that, your various transitions are collecting data. These include the SPG 30, dimension from year season year, a guide count of the various expectation, year radiation, and the VME 680s, which are also things such as temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, etc. Once the lands, we'll analyze the use of data, and then we'll make two of spread control and the exposed use and contrast the two close to.
Awesome.
To conduct our experiment, we first made our plans to scholarly out the various experiment components, then we made our prototype based on and those some changes that size, we will close.
To prototype our experiment, we first made our plans as how to lay out the various experiment components, then we made our prototype based on our plan with some changes that were dictated by sensor size. Below are the photos of the prototype design. This was Abby's slide to the wiring diagram.
Our final experiment photos. Here are photos of our final experiment. In the images, you can see the yeast that we'll be using, that metro for that controls everything, the wires that connect everything together, and the sensors that measure air quality, UV, and
Our biggest lessons / favorite experiences were we got a first-hand insight into what NASA engineers actually do, and we just got to learn how much it was. Also, arguably the best part was getting to be on CNN 10.
It's great.
Nice.
Amazing.
No, this is Jack's. These are photos, I don't remember what you said, but lots of things, and some of the favorites were soldering, that was a key. You can see soldering in there, things work together. Getting the blocks, that's on the like lower And thank you.
All right.
So we have some certificates from the school committee and Bangor School Department. So I'm going to call up your name and we'll hand you the certificate. And I believe there's a photo afterwards. So Aiden. Ementone. Thank you. Felipe. Sure, I'm gonna sing a. Also, we have participation from Jack Bennett and Abigail Foster.
Weren't they great?
Yes.
We also have a certificate of achievement presented by the Bangor School Committee and the Bangor School Department to Mrs. Petrak. And what I like to say, she mentioned a few minutes ago that she really didn't do anything. As you can see tonight, that's not really true. And just giving the students the opportunity, the space, the encouragement, and all her knowledge, as you know, means a lot. So thank you, Mrs. Petrak. I can have everyone come over here for a quick photo before Mr. Runner goes too far away. Susan, I have you stand in the middle. Awesome.
Great job with this. When are you gonna bake the bread?
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, congratulations.
Okay, thank you and congratulations again to the students, the families, and Mrs. Petrak. Thank you so much, and apologies for the technical difficulties. Thank you for your flexibility. See you later. All right, we're moving on to adjustments to the agenda. It looks like we don't have any adjustments to the agenda this evening. So moving on to public comments. Before we start public comments, I do have a statement to read. Members of the public may address the school committee for up to 3 minutes on school and education matters. Public comments shall be directed to the school committee and be brief and not repetitive. The school committee's practice is not to respond or debate with speakers during the public comment period. We are here to listen. The superintendent or her staff will follow up on comments outside of the meeting as appropriate. The committee will not permit profanity or shouting and requests that speakers be civil. Discussion of specific personnel or student matters and complaints concerning specific employees or students will not be allowed, but will be addressed through established policies and procedures. Before speaking, we encourage speakers to review School Committee Policy AC, which provides that the committee does not and will not discriminate nor tolerate discrimination against students or employees on the basis of membership in a protected class. Speakers who share comments contrary to this policy will not be allowed to continue. Before starting, please state your name and place of residence. Do we have anybody for public comment tonight?
Thanks to the foresight of another mother requested by FOA, the information on Fairmount in April, June has brought us information. That this information was held by the administration until after the vote to relocate is deeply troubling. Let me summarize from that request any documentation that was used to evaluate the safety of the Fairmount building and to inform the decision to temporarily relocate students and staff. There are 5 report topics here one on the asbestos in the skim coat, which recommends patching the roof and adding that surface to the school management plan. The second document outlines $2,800 of additional testing on ceiling material along with the routine testing. There are receipts from county abatement to clean and encapsulate the exposed area for under $1,200. This is the report documenting leaks in the foundation, recommending temporary caulking until repair, and replacing 12 inches of carpet along the walls in the music room, for example. Finally, water tests from 2022 that demonstrate the fill stations are working well and that new radon tests all came back with positive results. Nothing in these documents says to me that Fairmount building is a risk for the upcoming year. Fairmount is a historic building, and it needs to be caulked and patched as buildings require regularly. In fact, this move to the high school appears substantially more expensive than patching, appears to include the irony of removing lockers disturbing asbestos tiles, and is a waste unless this is a pretense for something larger and far less temporary. Stop the lies. Stop the half-truths. Stop trying to move forward a hidden agenda. Stop conflating long-term repair expenses with short-term remediation. Stop pretending this relocation is critical. It is not too late to return to reason. I realize pushing reset can be painful, but this has to stop. There is no justification for this current path or panic. Keep the kids at an age-appropriate facility. Make a long-term plan with the community, not just a secret plan with a few invited parents, but a bean supper with all of Bangor to weigh in on paths forward to find a solution everyone can live with. It will be deeply unethical to put forth a plan developed over the winter as final without community input. I have no confidence in the current administration. To the school committee, you are the oversight. You hold the administration accountable. You protect our children, protect our institutions, and protect the dream of the future that you will not share, but are trying to push. But we need you to be honest, and we need you to reset. Thank you. And for parents and community members, this is public information, as is any written correspondence. And while it should be posted with the facts on the relocation page, you can request it by email from the administration, or I brought extra copies.
Thank you. Do we have others for, yes, please.
Hello, my name is Dr. Katie Swaha and I live in Bangor. I have 3 children, 2 at 14th Street and 1 at Fairmount. On April 30th, the morning after Fairmount's closure was announced, I sent in a FOA request asking for the technical reports informing this decision. I did not receive those reports until June 3rd, 6 days after the school committee had already voted to move Fairmount. The documents I received do not appear to warrant immediate closure. As rushed decisions about Fairmount continue to be made, I have the following 4 requests. Number 1, be as fully transparent as you are legally allowed to be at all times. The public deserves real data and reports as they come in. For example, tonight's packet states that plans for the playground area have been completed. I thus expect to hear tonight and see available on the relocation page tomorrow that plan in its entirety. The agenda also includes a strategic planning update. The public deserves to know exactly who is on the strategic planning committee and to see a draft of the strategic planning report now, not in 3 months. Number 2, provide specific protocols rather than empty reassurances for how you will address issues related to placing elementary school students on a campus, not just a building, that has not been designed for them. For example, when I'm late to pick up my 9-year-old because I have to get my younger kids first, will she be waiting for me in a supervised and age-appropriate place or next to a busy parking lot filled with teenage drivers? How will the administration respond when a high school student who has moved beyond their provisional license drives home their 9-year-old neighbor with good intentions but without parental consent? Number 3, publicly address the needs and concerns of all Fairmount students and families. For example, what considerations are being made for students with special needs for whom this transition may be especially difficult? What supports will be in place for students who are deeply anxious about going to a new school with, as my daughter put it, the really big kids? What is your plan for addressing the concerns of families who may face barriers to participating in standard forums for public comment? Number 4, include student perspectives in ethical ways. Also on the superintendent's report for tonight is the suggestion that student representatives will be gathering student input to be used in facilities planning. Student input is important. However, as a qualitative researcher myself, I am deeply concerned about how the administration has gathered such input so far without consent or a clear research protocol. In order to collect student input ethically, you must have a public research protocol that includes, at a minimum, a justifiable sampling plan, clear procedures for obtaining parental and student consent, scripts for how participants will be assured of their right to stop participating at any time, plans for training student researchers, information about how the data will be protected and anonymized, and a framework for how the data will be analyzed and used. Information related to these 4 requests should be included promptly in an original form on the relocation page and via other channels so that families do not have to search for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have others for public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to superintendent's proposals and updates. Looks like we have no action items tonight. We do have some informational items. The first is a facilities update. Superintendent Robinson.
Thank you. Director Hale has provided an update in your packet. Are there specific questions? I don't know if you want to summarize, Director Hale, anything in there, and we'll take questions on that.
Thank you. Yes. So on an ongoing basis, as we've said, that we're going to give you updates on how the process is moving forward, and the memo that is attached there lets you know a little bit more about where we're at currently. And I will tell you that the process is fluid day to day. We're constantly, the administrators, everybody in the planning process, trying to work out the millions of details that are included, and trying to make sure everything is thought through before, we execute any kind of plans. Along with that letter that I gave, we do have our meeting that I said was within the next 2 weeks. We have that scheduled for tomorrow with the contractor and the engineers to develop a solid plan so we can figure out how we're going to work with other contractors and get a deep insight of the plan. We are looking at things from head to toe. As you've seen in the letter, the more detailed letter from Carpenters Associates, it's not as simple as painting a wall, because if you paint that wall, you have to make sure that water is not going to leak onto that wall and ruin what you have done. So it's going to take a in-depth analysis of what to move forward with. I've even consulted with a landscaper, because there are some trees on the outside that are infiltrating the sewer lines, and through any kind of revitalization of the school, that would be another thing to think about that people may not think about, that landscaping is one of them. So yeah, I can take any questions from you regarding the memo and the updated opinion from Carpenters as well.
Thank you, Director Hale. Do we have any questions for either Superintendent Robinson or Director Hale? Member Speed?
Yeah, just one quick question. I saw some other hands come up, so I'll give them a chance to ask questions as well. The original $5.6 million estimate, did that include a contingency line? Because the second one looked like it included a 30% contingency.
Let me answer that.
Director Hale's been working.
So the 30% contingent. So with the first letter from Scott Dunbar, we had met with him, I think 3 or 4 days before that meeting, and we had asked him, and that was our very first meeting, preliminary. And I said, is there any way that you can pull out an opinion just to give our school committee some more information based on the facts that we already know? And also letting him know that we would let you all know that it was a very raw look at things, and until we can get in there and do more research. So with that being said, that number there, no, does not include what Carpenters would have associated as a 30% contingency.
Okay.
Other Member Cook, please.
I think that we heard some doubts this evening about the extent of the repairs needed. And I'm wondering if this document that we're looking at will be made public so that for those who have those doubts, they can see what these experts recommended.
Yes, and those again are the preliminary estimates, the timeline of events. Because as I'm sure you're aware, having a full assessment, people, companies are booked out. So we are having people do this preliminarily so that we have a rough estimate. We have a more detailed plan to occur over the summer, and that at our August meeting will be a full presentation of those findings. But certainly, just with the full knowledge that these are rough estimates, we can certainly add those to the page so that those can be viewed by the public.
Member Bryden?
Thank you very much. Thank you for this update. Director Hale, a couple of questions piggybacking off of Member Cook's question. Is there, obviously, resources like this, it shares the information that we have access to. It is available in our packets online. What is the timeline from these decisions being made and information being shared to get those onto the website for availability? Because I do know that there's an entire page on our website now about the Fairmount School facility changes and redirectives. Is there some sort of expectation we can put in place where we say, okay, this is information we've received, this is helpful information to sort of guide us along this process, within 48 hours, this will be on the website? Is there something that we can say or something that we can figure out so that we at least know if things are coming out, we don't have to wait between school meetings to be able to access this?
I think we can certainly add information as fluidly as possible. I think, Director Finney is the person who uploads things to our webpage, and he is doing an amazing job with all of the things that he's doing, covering all kinds of events and doing all that at this time of year.
Yeah.
So certainly we aim to provide this information and make sure it's readily available as soon as possible. And we can continue to do that. I mean, I think 48 to 72 hours is
Right.
reasonable to the best of our ability.
No, I appreciate that. I just think with the additional, and continual questions that are going to come with this process, just being as transparent as possible and saying, this is when information is going to be shared. This is what we have. So it doesn't have to be like, wait until the August, school board meeting. And then,
Oh, no.
I know that that's not, I just want to be clear that
Sure.
that is the expectation.
On the timeline that was just posted today, and you all have a copy of the reorganization timeline, we have some target dates. And in one of those indicates the biweekly communication. So in between meetings, there'll be at least one communication of updates as we progress through the summer. So that is listed there, because I do agree, regular communication is always best.
Wonderful. Thank you for reiterating that. And lastly, I believe this question is likely for Director Hale. I know in your update, you shared that Carpenter and Associates is, if I'm understanding this correctly, typically the firm that we use for all of our engineering. Is the expectation that the Fairmount process or updates will be made by Carpenter? Is it going out to bid? Are we looking with Dunbar? We have all these names and individuals that you've met with that, I'm interested to know what that process is going to look like so that we know which numbers to look at and really which ones to dig into.
And I think that's very important to identify, is that, initially our director of physical plant does the overview, and then there's things that are out of his purview. So that's when we hire a contractor to kind of oversee the entire plan and make sure that all the little things that we may not think about, or the things inside the walls or the foundation, that those are all addressed. And working with carpenters, they've been a long-standing partner of the Bangor School Department. So it only made sense to have them work with us on this because they know our buildings. They know them very well. There will be potentially other engineers that we reach out to. You know, there's every type of engineer, as many know, that, you know, may have different expertise in different levels, as well as we will reach out to contractors like plumbers who are experts in that. So, and typically when you're gathering quotes or data, you don't put out things out to bid per se. But we will obtain opinions from many, many different experts. And then if the process is voted to move forward with revitalization, then everything would go out to bid, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yep, Member Sprague. Thank you. Could I ask the superintendent just reiterate the communications plan on this? Because I am sure there's lots of people that are curious about this topic that don't know where the memo is, and I'm uncomfortable with the dynamic here that we have this memo in our packets and we're not really like talking about what the updates are, and maybe you could provide an update on the communication and just maybe like a 30,000-foot view of what has been happening. And
Absolutely.
I don't know where these things are on the website. Like I can see our agenda and I'm obviously like highly engaged with this, but if somebody's falling from a plane, they need a little slip of paper that says pull this cord. They don't need a link to a website to something that might be up 72 hours later. I just want the communication to be so abundantly clear and positive, and I just don't like the dynamic right now of it's in our packets, but we're not really talking about it. It'll be on the website eventually. People are like very thirsty for information on this.
Is the very first view
This memo
this temporary reorganization.
and the memo from tonight.
I have.
So the memo from tonight, our communication has been to provide the school committee with the information first and then share it off to the public. That has been kind of the process unless there was something super pressing. This information is going to go on the website. I can provide you with an update from our last committee meeting. Met with contractors. We've had a lot of meetings with our administrators to ensure that this transition is going to work as best as possible with our staff and making sure that they're comfortable with the relocation as we progress through the summer. So a lot of meetings have been walking through the buildings, discussing spaces, ensuring that there is going to be plenty of space in lower A wing for Fairmount students and staff, which has all been confirmed. And then there is some construction along with that. So that's being determined at this point. And that is, plans for the playground have been completed. And that is, that site preparation work is being prepared at this point. And I think the other updates that Director Hale said, I could reiterate those, that we are working with the contractor. And over the summer, we'll have a more detailed analysis of Fairmount so that that can be presented in August. As information is available, we can, as Member Bryden requested, update the website every 48 to 72 hours as information becomes available. And then through the summer, we will have bi-weekly communication. So in between each meeting, because we also have less meetings, communication will go out with an update.
Thank you. Any other questions for Director Hale or Superintendent Robinson on this item? Member Speed?
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect back at the workshop that we held where we actually had a chance to look at the 5-year capital maintenance and improvement plan that was provided. I thought that was insightful. And looking at the 2019 study as well for the estimates for the plans that were presented, I think that would be helpful to have some context to what that process was. I don't know, Chair Surratt, if you were on the school committee during that time or that presentation, but I'm curious, what was the take of the school committee in 2019 based on those options that were presented?
Well, that's a long time to reflect back. What specific questions did you have?
Well, when we look at, well, this is something that's actually on the information page for the
Right.
Fairmount reorganization plan. And so looking at option one to look at working on the schools in place. So in other words, I think option one looked at what would it cost to maintain the schools, the community schools that the Bangor community cherishes, and that was at $80 million. Option two was $116 million and looked at having pre-K through 2, and then a citywide consolidation of 3 through 5 and 6 through 8. And option three was 118 million, but the only difference there was pre-K through 3, 4 through 5, and 6 through 8. And so this is a study that's on the Fairmount reorganization page. I'm wondering if there's any context with what the committee decided with that information, what to do. And granted, I understand 2019, there's a lot going on that year into 2020, right before the pandemic. So
Yeah, I can speak from my recollection, what the committee seemed, the consensus seemed to be around moving toward a plan where the pre-K threes became pre-K twos. A large addition was made to the James F. Dowdy School, and that became a citywide 3 through 5. A large addition would have to be added on to the William S. Cohen School, and that would become a citywide 6 through 8. That, at the time, and again, this is 7 years ago, there was consensus or some consensus among the committee on that being a path to pursue at some point in the future. Granted, the funding would come in from the state, which is an immense challenge.
just to follow up that, so you're saying that the consensus was option 3,
Yes.
the pre-K?
Well, that had the most momentum, I would say, among
Right.
the committee at the time, 7 years ago.
Right, and that's, I mean, obviously the 80 million is option 1, and so I could see that there might be some attraction to that to work on the buildings in place because it's actually the cheapest option, right? It's not the cheapest, but it's the least affordable option. And so I'm just wondering from that point to here, how do we not progress forward to option 3?
How do we not prevent?
Right, if option 3 was the consensus, why is there 7 years between that study and where we are at today?
Because there was never a state bond.
Okay.
Yep, we were never put on the top of the list.
Yep. Okay, that's good. It's just good context to know, not being on the committee at that time. And so then I brought up the 5-year capital maintenance improvement plan between 2020 and 25. Now, keeping in mind option 1 estimated $80 million. Between 2020 and 2025, $20.9 million was spent on building repairs, and then $135.9 million is estimated for additional needs. Am I reading that correct? Yeah. Yeah, when you look at all of the plans and all of the estimates for the maintenance, I did some math and added up the numbers, and that's what it came out to, that we've spent in 5 years, 6 years, $20.9 million, and projected cost would be 135. And of course, some of that includes the $8.5 million towards Fairmount School, including some, but not all, the recent estimates, right? The building needs and other schools as well. So, yeah, so I just wanted to bring that to light and get some, just kind of wrap my head around that information. Both of those documents have been presented to us, so I'm just trying to gather some context for those.
You have context for those?
Did you?
Yeah, please. Please.
So with the capital improvement plan that you're looking at that's presented for the 5-year planning, in my short time here, I've gotten to know that document a little bit, and it does outline all the projects that have been completed in all the schools based on any kind of engineered projects. So as long as they were engineered with carpenters. And then I think also between the changing of director of physical plant and stuff, we're really trying to get any projects put onto that plan. But I think over the summer with the strategic planning process, that's something we're very, very hopeful in like squaring down what the future of any of our buildings, what we need and having a solid plan. So then when you look at the estimated projects for any of the schools in that plan, those could be several years old. So there may have been an engineered project 3 years ago to do a specific project at Fairmount, let's say. But since then, these things have happened. So that project is either not in the plans anymore or the market value has changed significantly. So the price is not the same. And that sounds like, well, why don't we update the plan? Because every time we have any of these projects engineered, the cost of that is about $1,000 to $2,000 just to have them look at the project. So, we're trying to be mindful of that as well. And then, make sure that we're getting projects listed on these that are actually going to happen. Because if we continuously reach out and get multiple things engineered and then don't follow through with that, it's not very responsible way of using the money, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the essence of the question really is it sustainable to keep our older buildings open, or should we look to a long-term plan that consolidates the buildings and campuses? I mean, I think that's the essential question. And would that be helpful to come to that answer as a body, as a committee, as you progress through the summer, right? I'd hate for you to get to August and to have a plan and then realize, oh, we needed to have an answer to that essential question.
That would certainly be helpful. However, I think that gathering all of the information first, I think has been my understanding that that's what the committee desires, to be able to make an informed decision with the current current market values and current conditions of the buildings. So that's how I plan to proceed, is gather all that information during the summer, present it in August. And then knowing that that is a tight timeline. So certainly, I mean, we're not coming to a decision. I'm sure everyone is, not yet, but I'm sure everyone is thinking about, what that process might look like, what might be best moving forward preliminarily, and then being ready in August, because any work that needs to be done needs to be bid out by November of this year for the summer work. So that's a pretty tight timeline, and we will need to make some significant decisions come the next couple of months.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Cook.
I think Fairmount on the state's list of priority schools is in the 20s. Is that correct? 26 maybe?
It might be.
Yeah.
It's down there.
Yeah, it's down there. But the data or information submitted that classified us as somewhere in the 20 range, might that change with this new assessment? I know that we probably won't be in top 1 or 2, but just wondering if it might put us closer to where Mary Snow is.
Well, the whole process, we would need to reapply again for the needs assessment. So that lengthy application process was done when, I think, a little prior to my arrival. It had been voted on in, if I recall, August of 24. And then that process funnels through the state. They assess all of the applications. And if that application is accepted, they come out and do the site visit, which is what happened. So that would be a multi-year process again for us to redo that. The information I've received as I've talked with people at the state level for school funding is it's frustration across the state. And the first 2 projects that are on that list are being funded. And if anything devastating like a fire or something like that happens, it trumps anything, and then that school gets addressed. So our MSSA organization, who oversees and supports the superintendents and connects, with legislators, has kind of indicated, if you're not on the, even waiting on the list. So, and in my previous role, to me, personally and professionally, my experience here in Maine has indicated that if we really want to do something, we can't wait for the state. We need to make a determination within the community, within the funding sources that we can, pull together and then make that decision. Because and even getting the funding, it can be a 10-year process.
Other questions for Director Hale or Superintendent Robinson? Member Bryden, please.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, when is the timeline for the Fairmount staff to be able to go in, see the rooms? I know there's obviously a lot of changes that need to happen in the actual footprint, but in terms of being able to say like, okay, this is where my classroom might be, where music might be, where the books might go, all of those things that I think there's a lot of questions about. I think having the staff, especially you're thinking about them preparing for their next year, thinking over the summer what resources and things they need to pull together for their classrooms. What does that timeline look like, and has that been determined yet?
So we're still determining the exact time and dates that might be available. We just solidified the maps yesterday. So, this is a fluid situation, and, with everything, all of the regular school events occurring. And then also knowing that construction needs to happen within that lower A wing. So, there has been discussion about getting staff in there at a time that's reasonable before the summer. It would potentially be before the construction starts, but then certainly by the end, prior to the return, there would be that opportunity to come in as they normally would to set up their classrooms.
Thank you. And so sorry, just blame my brain and this humidity, but the maps that you said is that like the footprint of the school? Sorry, can you clarify what you mean by the maps were done?
Yes, they have been confirmed just to determine who's going where. Type of thing.
Okay.
And I know there had been requests to put that up on the website. Based on our safety plan and the specifics with knowing too much information about who's where and what students are there, I've consulted with Director Finney and our safety coordinator. That is not a recommendation in terms of safety, but that's being communicated internally to ensure that people are, feeling as best as they can. I mean, it's been, as you know, a very stressful situation for our staff. And now coming to the end of the school year, and we having the vote conducted at the end of May is, it's a tight timeline.
No, I appreciate that. And I know that, obviously just having to hold the end of the year celebrations and excitement and all of the great things that happen, especially when you're moving on after fifth grade to middle school, I'm just so grateful for our staff and the amazing staff that we have that are holding that while simultaneously wondering so many things in their head. So I appreciate you sharing with me any additional information you have. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Any final questions for Director Hale or Superintendent Robinson? All right, let's move forward. Next, we have Superintendent's update. Superintendent Robinson.
So you have a copy of the timeline, and that is up on the Fairmount webpage at this point. In terms of schools and programs, as Member Bryden just spoke of, we've had some amazing celebrations. Certainly graduation as our culminating event this past weekend went over very well. We had senior salute, alma mater march, just some really great opportunities for students to be celebrated and recognized for all of their achievements. In terms of the reorganization, I had met with our city manager, who I meet with regularly, and she connected me with the executive director from the Stephen King Foundation. So I'm working on scheduling a meeting with her to potentially see if there is funding available to support this transition. They expressed some interest. They're not 100% certain, what that might look like, but I'm exploring that option. I have talked with some student representatives and connected them with member VJ to gather some input from the students and make sure that we can gather, that input throughout this process. I met with 2 freshman girls who interviewed me about this, and they had some really great questions about the process. So we're really looking to just keep them informed as the reorganization happens. And that was a really great interaction with the kids. In terms of our budget, we had our June 8th meeting just on Monday. Director Hale and I were here. First reading went through very well. The final vote is June 22nd, and we're hopeful that they will pass our budget with everything else. In terms of strategic planning, I am finalizing a flow chart to clarify this process. There is a web page as well that talks about what has happened over the fall from our strategic planning process. So I just want to verbally go through that, and please know that that will be updated as well. Last fall, we had focus groups set up. We've worked with, again, the affiliates with Maine Education and Research Policy Institute, Jennifer Chase, and her colleague Kathy. In November, we had onboarding. We had a recruitment team of approximately 30 people that ranged from students to staff to administrators to community members, members from the city of Bangor, and that was on November 21st. They all were recruited to be part of the gathering of participants in our listening sessions. This whole research process followed the IRB process for gathering data. These women who are in charge of this are professional researchers. So December, the invitations went out. January and February, we had over 130 people participate in those listening sessions. And those researchers have been working on, and then they held a sense-making sessions in February where participants were invited back to clarify anything that needed clarifying. And then February through April and into May has been that analysis. Jennifer Chase is going to be presenting that draft analysis on the 24th of this month, and also that will be an opportunity for the committee to provide some feedback. From there will be a retreat group formed from those participants, again, ranging from community members, administrators, teachers, students, and families. And from there, the priorities will be identified. It's not to say that it can't be modified. This is just a collective process, including as many people and voices as possible. And then we are looking to partner with an external leadership consulting group that can help to carry that process through the internal determination of how are we going to address these priorities that have been identified by the wide range of stakeholders that participated in these listening sessions. So from there, the aim or the goal is to have a roadmap for the next 5 years, including facilities. Because of the facilities challenges that have presented themselves after these listening sessions, this external consulting group will be brought in to gather more voices, oversee those community sessions where we can gather feedback specifically around the facilities so that we have a solid plan of what needs to happen. And as Member Speed mentioned, I don't think we're in a position to table it again for a number of years. I think we need to come prepared and ready to make some important decisions that are going to lead to the future of the Bangor School Department in a way that is educationally sound and fiscally responsible. So I'm really hopeful that this plan will come together and provide that roadmap, because as was discussed here, we have committee member rotation. Fortunately, I think you're the only one really that would have been there in 2019. So things get lost. So we need things documented, we need decisions to be made, and we need plans to move forward.
That it for the report?
Just the cell phone policy changes, we're working on that. We've worked really hard as a team. I'm finalizing that memo to go out to, first to the staff to reiterate what those expectations will be. Again, there's no personal devices that are going to be allowed. Anything that can connect to the cellular network from bell to bell starting next school year. So that is going to be a little bit of a change for some, but we are confident that it will work out with the strategies and implementation. And having done what we did last year, we feel like we're in a good position, especially at the high school with those boxes already working really well. Hiring a lot of amazing people, and also some which are here today. And we're planning summer leadership retreats. And then, of course, continuing with our end of year DOE reporting.
Thank you. Questions for Superintendent Robinson? Member Sprague.
Thank you. Appreciate the updates. I know it's a very busy time of year for everybody, so I know there's a lot of hard work going on. I appreciate it. The one comment I want to make about the facilities is that it's not really just the facilities question. It is a fabric of the community. What type of community do we want to be? There is immense interest in this topic that is going to have to be discussed and decided. I know that we've engaged the community through the strategic planning sessions. I appreciate that, but there are immense swaths of people that have not been involved with that are not completely following this, that will want to be engaged in a part of the discussion about what we do with our neighborhood schools. It is a key part of the DNA of our community, and I don't have the answer. I don't. None of us do, but it's a big conversation and it's going to feel rushed. It can't be rushed. It has to be a thoughtful decision under the time constraints and the pressures that we have. My only other request is I'm not trying to be contrarian or technologically dense here, but I want a link to the Fairmount information page on the school department main page, because I have been continually going to what I thought was the main page and it's dated. It is on the main page, and I'll talk offline about this, but it takes me to a letter from you from May talking about the listening sessions and the surveys. I could not navigate without help to the Fairmount resource page. I think it's probably just a question of like a broken link or it's funneled into the news section.
Director Finney can probably speak to that a little bit better.
Well, I don't mean to call out on the spot, but
webpage at the bottom.
Yeah, and I was just gonna, sorry to interrupt.
ahead.
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
before you.
There's not.
There is, I did it, but I will say that it is convoluted and it is difficult to find. And if I was a parent, I would click on that thing that's on the front page, as it should be, that's on the homepage. And then when I saw that it wasn't the information, I would be like, it's not there. But it's like the third down link in that letter. It is.
We can adjust that.
So I would recommend what Member Spread is saying.
I also created a post on every school department's webpage with a picture of Fairmount School with the link to that page. So it is on all of our social media accounts, it is on all of our live feeds of every school department, school, as well as the school department's page.
So I just recommend doing what he was suggesting.
When you click on that news link, the first link is a feedback video, the second is the webpage, the third is the survey, and the fourth is a copy of the school committee video.
Okay, I do see it at the bottom, but I'm not just being contrarian. I couldn't find
I understand.
Thank
I
you.
would have to remove one of the schools to actually put it on the page.
I mean, what I would do is take that, the main page link and make that the thing, as opposed to going to the letter, I understand why it's that way, but.
Could you explain that?
Yeah, go.
I think the letter is popping up because it comes up as news. And that's a feature of the website to have news. So I think what you're asking is to have a section dedicated to this, and maybe if that letter could be moved elsewhere so people don't automatically click that news feature.
Just fewer clicks to get to the good stuff.
Exactly. Could it also just be that the news is, in case you missed it, here's the webpage? Even though it does in the letter say webpage. I think, yeah, it's just, when you click on that, you think you're going to get that robust site with all of the FAQs and the links. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Luciano?
I would just like to say I've sat here and Googled every possible combination of Fairmount closed, Fairmount school, Fairmount not open, Fairmount Bangor, Maine, and every single one, the first link is Fairmount temporary relocation link from the district.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Superintendent Robinson? Yep, Member Bryden?
While we're on the subject of websites, I do know that there are some questions about what the strategic plan was, how that was developed. If you were not actively watching every other week this winter, and you missed it, there is a very robust webpage for that as well, which I very much appreciate, that has all of the different surveys that were shared with each different community group that was involved, what that process looked like, what's happening afterward, which I greatly appreciate. I know that the audio files that are have been evaluated and will be shared with us on June 24th, sort of aggregate that data in some really beautiful ways. Is there a plan to put any of that data on here as well, just as a means of a continued opportunity for folks if they don't have the bandwidth to participate in these sessions more meaningfully with their time? They could at least go like, oh, I get a snapshot of what was collected, what information was shared, what they're working on.
Yes, Jennifer will come with a presentation that we can add to the website.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Member Speed?
I just want to applaud the community focus groups that were conducted and the work that was put into that. I think it's a wonderful process, and I appreciate not only the process, but bringing in folks that follow an IRB process that we see on college campuses for public research projects. I also want to applaud having students have their voices heard and represented, which I think is important. So a couple of questions along those lines. One, do we have a process similar to the IRB process, particularly when information will become public for those students that are under 18 years old? And then also a second question is for the July 17th and 18th work groups. I'm imagining that there's a process that includes those folks who have attended the focus groups up to this point, have gone through the IRB process, have been invited to come back this summer to round things out. And there's a reason for them to be included and not necessarily to open it up to new participants.
Right, and that's really just to pull out those key priorities. Again, as kind of a 30,000-foot view of these are the big topics that need to be addressed in the strategic plan. In no way is the small group that's meeting in July creating the strategic plan. That has to be a collective effort that incorporates internal groups and also gets additional feedback, particularly with the facilities questions.
Great. And to Member Sprague's point, the broader community will be included in that broader strategic plan.
Absolutely.
And so to my first question of the research protocol, when we include students' voices that are under 18, what is our protocol and process?
Yeah, that process was followed. The students that participated in the listening sessions, that IRB process was followed. Parent participation, parent approval was gathered prior to their participation, and they had the statement. They could opt out at any time. All of that was part of those listening sessions that occurred over the winter.
Any other questions for Superintendent Robinson? I'll just add one thing. I had the real honor of attending the Bangor High School graduation this past Saturday. Had the opportunity to individually congratulate the 265 graduates that walked across the stage, and it was just a real honor and a privilege. And I want to thank Principal Butler, Director Finney, and everyone involved in pulling off such a wonderful event. Thank you. All right, next we're moving on to report of reassignments. Superintendent Robinson?
I'm reporting the following reassignments for the 26-27 school year. Angela Lundy, special education teacher, Mary Snow. Following resignations, Angela Lundy, Ron Valencia, spring track coach, William S. Cohen School, Jay Kemble, girls varsity soccer coach, Bangor High School.
Okay, thank you. So now moving to reassignments.
Yes. I'm reporting the following reassignments for the 26-27 school year. Jane Freeman from project transition teacher at Bangor High School to resource room teacher at Fairmount School. Anna McDonald from special education teacher at Mary Snow School to special education teacher at William S. Cohen School. Scott Wood from physical education teacher at Fairmount School to physical education teacher at Fruit Street School.
Great, thank you. Moving on to our business action items. First, the minutes. We have a workshop meeting from May 19, 2026. Superintendent Robinson.
I'm recommending approval of the draft minutes of the May 19th, 2026 workshop
Can I have a motion? Oh, sorry.
school committee meeting and the May 28th, 2026 regular school committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Member Cook?
I'm just going to abstain from that vote because I was not present.
Thanks. Any other questions? Member Sprague?
Don't actually have to abstain. You're putting your faith in the meeting minute taker.
All right, we'll leave that up to Member Cook. All those in favor?
7-0, thank you.
All right, moving on to personnel. We have some administrator nominations. Superintendent Robinson.
I'm recommending the following administrator nominations for the 2026-2027 school year with a one-year probationary contract. Sabrina Illingworth, Assistant Director of Pupil Services for our early childhood CDS process, and Linda McDonald, Assistant Director of Pupil Services.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
I would like to call our new director, Jeannie McAlpine, forward to say a few words about our new hires. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think I can be loud enough. I'm excited to announce Sabrina as the new, we're trying to figure out her full title, right? So the Assistant of Early Special Education. She comes with lots of experience from CDS, working with 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds, which is exactly what we're looking for in this early childhood new role that we're having together. So we're really excited to have her.
I'm just excited to be here. This whole transition's gonna go, so.
Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
And I'm also excited to be able to introduce Linda. Linda will be the new Assistant of Pupil Services. She comes with lots of experience at the high school, being able to run IEP meetings, write written notices, and reach out to families. So excited to have her as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those introductions. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
7-0, thank you.
All right, moving on to teacher nominations. We have new teachers for 2026-2027 school year. Superintendent Robinson.
I'm recommending the following teacher nominations for the 2026-2027 school year with a one-year probationary contract. Margaret Goritz, special education teacher, Vine Street School. Jennifer Robichaux, grade 5 teacher, Mary Snow School. Holly Rand, special education teacher, Down East School. Walter Stanley, grade 4 teacher, Fairmount School. Tyreek Rose, grade 5 teacher, Mary Snow School. Allison Bernard, special education teacher, Down East School.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
I would like to invite principals to say a few words about the teachers that they are bringing on board. So we can start with Principal Sweat.
Thank you very much. We're excited to have Maggie join us at Vine Street School. She's coming with a variety of experience. She's been in ed tech. She's been a director of a camp. She is currently a second grade teacher who is working on her special education degree through Farmington. And we're happy to have her and excited to work with her next year.
Thank you.
Principal Lord, yeah. And you have two people, so you can do both. Yeah, that would be great. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we won't do the back and forth.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited to, for two people to be joining Mary Snow. I have Jenny Robichaux, who has taught at 14th Street. Actually have lots of experience working with Jenny. She and I worked together closely. I was her literacy coach when she was a first grade teacher there. Jenny is very cognizant about her data, using that, and she's also looking very much to grow in her profession. Loved having a literacy coach in her classroom, so that's exciting because she'll carry that over to Mary Snow. And then I also have Tyreek, who's been working at Mary Snow for the last 6 months as an ed tech in one of our programs there. He's a recent graduate of Hassan, where he played football and then concentrated in elementary education. He's amazing with the students. So he's patient, he's kind, caring, and they like gravitate to him. So I'm excited to see what happens when he's in a 5th grade classroom.
Thank you for those introductions.
Principal Vickers.
Excited to have Holly Rand join us. She is currently in ed tech at Abraham Lincoln, and we're excited to welcome her into a special education teaching role. And then we are also excited to have Allison join us. She has a master's in special education and a wealth of experience at the elementary level in special education and early childhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Quirk.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes tonight. I'm pleased to and very excited that Walter Will Stanley will be a 4th grade teacher here at Fairmount. He currently fills the position in the interim role. And he's done a great job. Will is not only a Bangor High graduate, but a UMO graduate and currently lives in Bangor, so he has strong roots here in the community. When doing his references, people, both colleagues now, were excited to always go into his classroom, as well as seeing all the work that he was doing. And one of his references from his college professor put it greatly in saying he has the soul to work with young children. So we are very excited to have Will as a permanent teacher here at Fairmount. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
7-0. Thank you.
All right, moving on to extra duty assignments. Superintendent Robinson?
I'm recommending the following extra duty assignments for the 2026-2027 school year. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you and welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. I'll read that again. I'm recommending the following extra duty assignments for 2026-2027 school year. Catherine Cullenberg, assistant cross country coach, Bangor High School. Donald Erb, JV boys basketball coach, Bangor High School.
I have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
7-0.
Next, we have donations. We have member speed, sharing donations. Member speed?
Yes, thank you. Donations for this meeting include to the Fairmount School from Mo's Original Barbecue dinner vouchers for families having a total dollar value of $500. To the William S. Cohen School from Willie Law Offices and the Willie family, a cash donation to support students at the dance having a total dollar value of $1,500. And thank you very much for these generous donations, and I move to accept.
I'll second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to first reading of revised policies. Superintendent Robinson. Oh, and first, sorry, do we want to take these all together or do we want to pull any of them out? Member Speed?
Yeah, I was hoping we could pull out the cell phone and electronic devices.
So do we want to just?
Sure.
Thanks.
I'm recommending approval of the first reading of revised policies, revised policy BEDH, public participation at school committee meetings, revised policy GCSA, employee electronic device and internet use, revised policy JIC, student code of conduct.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Member Cook.
I just wanted to thank the policy committee and Dr. Harris Smedberg for revisiting the code of conduct. I think that it is a wonderful improvement and really reflects sort of what we stand for here at Bangor School Department. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Member Cook. Member Bryden.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate Member Cook's recommendations just from their work at the DOE and then also being able to incorporate some of the recommendations that came from UTC. We had a pretty vibrant conversation with Dr. Harris Smedberg and our committee. And also our Director of Civil Rights, Dana Carver-Byler, just to ensure that what the changes that were made were as inclusive as possible, but also very culturally sound so that there was no room for interpretation, especially when we have expectations about what behavior looks like and how could we possibly say what that means on a single sheet of paper and think that it applies universally. So it was, so you can see that those recommendations are reflected in the changes. You'll also see for policy BEDH, the public participation, that was changed from comment, which we read, which you'll now have to say public participation, Chair, to ensure that all of those changes are reflective not only on recommendations from MSMA, but also in response to recent litigation and our ever evolving First Amendment considerations. And then lastly, the policy GCSA that was also reviewed and updated to align with MSMA language. And again, I just want you to see that the changes that were made were also reflective of the fact that we recognize that our teachers and staff and administration have multiple hats that they wear throughout the day. So being as generous and as flexible while also really making sure that we are as safe and professionally minded as possible. All of those recommendations are included and reflected in those updates. Again, you'll see most of the major changes though are based on MSMA guidance and the changes that we have to make. And then obviously, policy JICJ, which we pulled out, we can talk about that because that is reflective of law that is now updated.
Thank you. And thank you for all of your work on policy and also Assistant Superintendent Harris Smedberg. It's a lot of work. Any other last questions, Member Cook?
I do have two questions about GCSA, employee electronic device and internet use. The first is, do we issue laptops to our education technicians?
They do not have, no, they do not have devices specific.
And then secondly, would it be wise in this policy, and I'm sure it's not in MSMA's, but I know everything is pretty much cloud-based now, but I don't see any language here about conducting school business on school-issued laptops and not on personal devices. And I'm wondering if that might be something we consider integrating into this policy.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for bringing that up because we did speak about that issue of being able to balance personal and school issued. We were very thoughtful about how that would look in terms of the device that you use in your classroom and your phone and any sort of technological device that connects to the internet while you're on campus. I do think that the policy committee has been really awesome in the number of meetings that we have and ability to revisit these. So I know Dr. Harris Medberg isn't here today, but speaking for Member O'Carey and myself, I'd be happy to revisit that just to have clarity around it. This one is, I think, a very super duper fine line of where do we not micromanage an adult's professional day, but also ensure that there is maximum safety in every capacity. And so while I do think that there was a lot of thought put into what was changed, I cannot speak to the actual devices or a laptop device outside of a cell phone use. So I'd be happy to revisit that. Thank you.
Thanks, Member Bryden. Any other questions on these three policies? Member Speed.
Yeah, just looking at policy BEDH, public participation at school committee meetings. It's been wonderful to have public comment these last several months, and I know that we have a timekeeper for keeping things moving along. I think it's a 3-minute mark, and there's a cap, correct? A 1 hour of the meeting that we can take for public comment.
I believe that's at the discretion of whomever is the chair.
Okay, and so when folks actually meet that 3-minute mark, I'm assuming they can finish the sentence that they're currently in, as long as it's not a 3-minute, 5-minute run-on sentence
It's at the discretion of the chair.
of the chair.
Mhm.
And then are they allowed to ask for extended time at the discretion of the chair at the moment?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on these three policies? All those in favor?
7-0, thank you.
All right. Next, we're moving on to the other policy. Superintendent Robinson.
Thank you. I'm recommending approval of the first reading of revised policy JICG, student use of cell phones and other electronic devices.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on this policy?
You can ask your question first, so I can make sure it's addressed.
Member Speed, go ahead.
So some of the questions I have several. And so the first one is, how do we define the bell start and stop, and should it be defined in the policy?
Oh.
Maybe I regret my. No, I do not know how we identify bell to bell, but I would assume that it is the first bell to the last bell. Would the words like first and last be? I know I'm sounding very sarcastic and pedantic, but I do actually, would having first and last be helpful? Would it be after the start of the school day? I understand that you might be thinking, oh, is there a 0 hour that we're belling for, and that might be confusing.
Well, and maybe it would be helpful to have a presentation from the high school, that actually has had a cell phone ban this last year, and maybe they've used a bell to bell. Perhaps that would be insightful. I know it's something we've asked for in the past.
Throughout last school year, there was several presentations from middle school and high school. Currently, the high school has a class period where each class period, the devices are put in the boxes that have been provided. So this is a shift from that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to have them between classes
Yeah.
like they normally would. So those are the procedures that we're currently working out right now to be able to implement by the August 1st date.
So to directly answer your question, Member Bryden, I'm not sure, because I don't know if the first bell represents the start of the school day, or the first bell represents go to your lockers, or it represents, come in from outside. So
Again, correct me if I'm assuming, but I do think that this is, the administrators and the individuals that are going to be enforcing and really making sure that this is happening will be the sort of final determinant in how this rolls out. So would it be helpful to say, okay, we've all met, we've developed this plan, this is what it's going to look like. Like, this policy this is a law, we have to do it, but how that looks might be a really beneficial opportunity in the fall once that's finalized to hear.
Sure, we can share that. Absolutely.
Member Cook?
I'm also wondering, I know that cell phones can be a major issue on the UTC bus. And so I'm wondering if we should explicitly state something in this about, and it doesn't have to explicitly say UTC bus, but any sort of field trip bus, because I know some people are calling this bell to bell, some people are calling it wall to wall. The bus might not be considered wall. So just something to consider.
Thank you. Other questions on the cell phone policy? Member Speed.
yeah, I'm also wondering if we should define what a personal device is, because this is a cell phone ban that's been put into law. Personal device seems like a very broad statement. That is, I'm just trying to understand what that means. And so surely this wouldn't include personal laptops.
I believe, and I think that Member Cook you can see it on, because I have to pull mine up, but it does say anything that can connect to the internet.
Oh, so it would include personal laptops.
It does include personal laptops.
And even earbuds. as well.
So a personal laptop that, okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
It seems like an extreme interpretation of a personal device. Laptops are an amazing tool that can be
The
used.
students are all issued laptops at the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, they all have laptops issued from the school.
And how do those laptops perform?
I'd have to, Principal
Are
Butler,
they-
do you want to speak to that? I think they're,
Top of the line laptops?
So the personal device are Chromebook, and they're fully integrated to all the G Suite applications, all of the functionality that comes with being connected through all the apps, all the traditional academic productivity applications, Word, they're all proprietary. They're sheets in Google Drive, and I forget the name of the Word application, but full
Google Doc.
functionality. The Chromebook has proven itself as a really good academic productivity device. You know, you talk about individual students, and there are in the past, there have been students who register a personal, laptop device. One of the limitations there is email configuration, and it doesn't work. I'll just show you from my experience, it doesn't work as fluidly. And more so, to answer the question, the devices work very well. We're in our third or fourth iteration of the device. They've made them more sturdy. Reliability in terms of connectivity is really good. And we've had really outstanding luck, I guess, with integrating the devices, the Chromebooks, into instruction and for take-home use.
Go ahead.
Is there ever any extended downtime for these devices? Is there frequent visits to IT for repairs, for functionality that are disruptive?
The devices were first iteration of the devices we rolled out, and I don't recall how many years it's been at this point, but the first iteration of the Chromebook device was kind of a flimsy device, prone to keyboard issues, prone to cracking. Just like everything else, they get better and better as time goes on. They've adopted, at least from my perspective, it's just like kind of like an Android cell phone. There are various vendors and makes and models. And I don't know in particular the one that's purchased this time around, but if it has what I would expect to be the same or higher level in terms of the ability to absorb wear and tear, to be reliably functional, I would suspect to be another really good product that helps student engage both at school and at home.
So if students currently have a personal device that they've been using, that they've been building research projects on for their last several years, that have a certain specification requirements to support that research or that data, and they plan to take that personal device to college, right? I'm trying to think of college campuses or workplaces that actually don't allow you to have personal devices. So that personal device would actually be not allowed to be used under this policy next year.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
that's the law.
It's the
That's
law.
It's stated in the legal document. Yes. Yes.
Member Cook?
So we're charged with implementing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think this will evolve and change, especially if a new governor is, or when a new governor comes to town. This didn't go through the normal policy hoops that most things do, and so there are a lot of things that were not thought of. However, I do want to mention that, personal laptops aside, I was in a meeting recently where someone gave me glasses and I was able to read their emails and read their text messages, and they can speak through these little. So I think putting something in here about not necessarily meta glasses, but you can buy these on Amazon for very cheap. And this is going to be an example of the haves and the have-nots, because students who have the means to purchase these things and, circumvent this policy are going to try to do that.
Thanks for that input. Other questions or discussion on this policy? Member Speed.
I'm curious, there's been some questions about, safety concern from parents during lockdowns. How do we address the safety concerns if students don't have these means of communications? I want to make sure that the public who doesn't have this policy in front of us can actually understand that.
Which portion are you referring to?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure that this policy doesn't directly say this is, how the situations in an emergency would take place, but there's so much data, which is what I think drove the law to be made in the first place. It says in an emergency, being on your cell phone or any sort of personal device is actually far more detrimental and dangerous, which is, again, I'm making wild sweeping generalizations, but part of what fueled this law was so that being present, quiet with your, teacher and the administration, especially in today's day and age where as a parent myself with access to like the Bangor scanner page, anytime there's a lockdown, you hear these wild rumors very quickly. This is a direct result, this law, of really mitigating those rumors, mitigating information getting out of hand, and just making sure that the students are safe and with their administrators and can appropriately communicate during an emergency, the same way that, people did before cell phones.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I just want to follow up with that and agree with that. And my understanding from the research and from what emergency responders say is that the last thing that a student should be doing during an emergency is contacting their family, and they should be paying attention to what their teacher is telling them and what their administrators are telling them.
I don't disagree. I agree completely. Having been, in the classroom for 14 years, practicing lockdown drills, I can attest those drills and procedures are in place for safety reasons for everyone involved in the building. So I think it's a good opportunity, though, regardless, to ensure parents the emergency management plan, and so if there's further restrictions on cell phone communication, I think it's an opportunity to remind folks of what to do in an emergency if they can't reach their kids.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else on the committee have questions? All right, ready to vote? All those in favor?
7-0, thank you.
Let me find my place. We are moving on to committee appointments. We have none of those. Representative reports. Do we have any representative reports tonight?
Yes.
Yep. Member Speed?
I do. Yes, I'm very excited to share. It's been a while since we've reported out on the UTC subcommittee that we have, and it's been a wonderful spring. May and June for the students there. At the year-end award celebration, 160 students were recognized for program awards, recognitions, scholarships, toolship awards as they move into post-secondary education, apprenticeships, military service, and the workforce. Awards, some of them highlight Outstanding Student Award, but also I love this award, the Growth and the Grit Award, and the UTC Compass Award, which honors students who lead through service. I just wanted to highlight a couple of the Bangor high school students from UTC. 13 high school students from Bangor were inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. 3 high school students from Bangor were recognized as Students of the Quarter throughout the year. And then also 3 Bangor High students graduated from the Bridge Academy. And just to highlight one of those Bridge Academy members, a Bangor High School student, senior Gabrielle Roy, who received a Career Pathways Associate degree and a small business certificate from Eastern Maine Community College. So congratulations to Gabby.
Great. Any questions for Member Speed? Yeah, please, Member Cook.
I also just wanted to share that the UTC Policy Committee is going through their policies as we do. And one of the things that they're doing is sort of taking the language and translating it from legalese to more parent and student-friendly language. And then that way it can easily be transferred into student handbooks, educator handbooks, and there's a certain format that they follow. And then they also have a paralegal who is taking changes and looking at old language, proposed language, MSMA language, and then includes a rationale for why the change was made. And so I just think that practice is one that I wanted to share because it's working really well.
Thank you. Any other questions for Member Speed? All right, moving on to, we have no student committee update tonight, no reports. So we are at the questions and comments from the committee. Any questions or comments from the committee? Yep, Member O'Keefe.
I did want to say that I want to acknowledge the work that's going into the reorganization plan. And I think it's a fast-moving, evolving situation that takes a lot of time, especially when, you know, the hectic nature of the last few days of school. And I want to also stress the importance of, you know, communication and transparency for families, and especially when I was talking about the website, I may have come off a little bit strong about it, but just thinking from I always try to think of the vantage point of a stressed parent who just has 5 minutes to check something really quickly. They might not Google it. They're going to go to the website and they click on the thing, and it's not the thing they thought it was. Forget it. And I know that it could be easy for us to be like, well, just take a deep breath and look. But I just try to think of it that way so that they can find the information as fast as possible. So if we could just put that, this seems to be one of the most pressing things that are going on currently, you know, that information directly on the front page. I think that would be a step in the right direction as far as transparency and communication.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? All right. Hold on, I lost my place. Moving on to informational items, important dates. Thursday, June 11, 2026, we have the retreat from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the University of Maine at Augusta Bangor campus. Wednesday, June 17, 2026, end of year assembly, 7:45 a.m. at Peaks Auditorium at Bangor High School. Wednesday, June 24, 2026, regular meeting here in the chambers at 7 p.m. Wednesday, July 15, 2026, regular meeting, 7 p.m. here in the chambers. Monday and Tuesday, July 27 and 28, 2026, strategic planning meeting, 8 a.m. at the University of Maine at Augusta Bangor campus in Eastport, room 105. All right, I need a motion to take us into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? All right, we are in executive session. Have a good night. Thank you.